Toughening its tactics, the French government bans yellow vest protesters from the Champs-Élysées Avenue. This after protests turned violent on the 18th consecutive weekend of demonstrations. Dutch authorities have arrested the alleged gunman after a shooting on a tram in the city of Utrecht. 3 were killed and 5 injured in the attack. New Zealand's Prime Minister has promised stricter gun laws within 10 days. Jacinda Ardern says the mosque gunman will face the full force of the law. Hello and welcome back. I'm Ellen Gainsford and this is the latest World News Bulletin on France 24. We begin here in Paris, where the chief of police has been given the sack following a weekend of violent yellow vest protests. From now on, rallies will be banned in the worst-hit neighbourhoods, including the Champs-Élysées Avenue. This after 91 businesses were damaged in the French capital on Saturday. Catherine Clifford has a story.
Moves from the French government to show it's clamping down on rioters. Prime Minister Edouard Philippe emphasised that while the government wants to protect citizens' right to protest, it's putting up a ban in certain cases.
We will ban protests linked to the Yellow Vests movement in the worst affected neighbourhoods as soon as we are aware of the presence of radical elements and their intention to cause damage. I'm thinking, of course, of the Champs-Élysées in Paris.
This after President Macron met with his cabinet on Monday under increasing pressure after an 18th consecutive Saturday of Yellow Vest protests, resulting in some of the most violent riots seen since the start of the movement. The Prime Minister announced the replacement of the Paris police chief, a move unlikely to appease the opposition Conservative party Les Républicains, who've called for the Interior Minister to take the fire. Police are now set to take a tougher line on people attending unauthorised demonstrations, with fines increased, quote, significantly. The Prime Minister said criticism of police tactics back in December had led to a lack in security on Saturday.
The controversy over the use of rubber bullet launchers led to inappropriate instructions being given to reduce their use.
Officers were seen standing in formation on Saturday while protesters burned and pillaged dozens of stores, despite the fact the 5,000 police deployed in the capital far outnumbered the several hundred rioters.
Dutch police have arrested the 37-year-old alleged gunman behind a shooting on a tram in the city of Utrecht. 3 people died in the attack and 5 were injured. For now, the suspect's motives are unknown. He's been named as Turkish national Gökmen Tanis. Authorities aren't ruling out terrorism, but they've also said the incident could have been sparked by a family dispute. Laurent Bersticher has a story.
After several hours on the run, Gökmen Tanis, the main suspect in the deadly Utrecht tramway shooting, was arrested Monday afternoon.
I've just been informed by my colleagues that the suspect was arrested. I don't have any more information right now, but I can tell you that the suspect is in custody.
The city of Utrecht was placed in lockdown after a man opened fire in a busy tramway Monday morning, killing at least 3 people. A few hours later, authorities published the suspect's name and picture on social media as police launched a citywide manhunt. Yet the 37-year-old continued to elude them, sparking fears he might have crossed the border into Germany until he was finally caught at around 6:30 p.m. In a press conference where he paid tribute to the victims, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte urged the population not to speculate on the attacker's motives.
There are a lot of questions and rumours, but like we said earlier, the motives of the suspect are still unclear.
The suspect, who was born in Turkey but had been living in the Netherlands for 11 years, was known to Dutch police and had a criminal record. Authorities refused to rule out the possibility of a terrorist attack, yet they said they were also looking into a potential family dispute. Turkey's intelligence agency was also conducting its own investigation into the suspect's background.
Now to the UK, where there's been another blow to Theresa May's Brexit deal. In a shock move, the Speaker of the House of Commons says she can't have a third vote on the withdrawal agreement. Critics say he's causing a constitutional crisis. Let's take a listen to what John Bercow had to say.
This ruling, if the government wishes to bring forward a new proposition that is neither the same nor substantially the same as that disposed of by the House on the 12th of March, this would be entirely in order. What the government cannot legitimately do is to resubmit to the House the same proposition or substantially the same proposition as that of last week, which was rejected by 149 votes.
As the country continues to grieve, New Zealand's Prime Minister says the gunman will face the full force of the law. She refused to mention his name, denying him the notoriety he allegedly craves. 50 people lost their lives in the attack on a mosque in Wellington this weekend. Jacinda Ardern has promised stricter gun laws. Let's take a listen.
Originally from Pakistan. Part of ensuring the safety of New Zealanders must include a frank examination of our gun laws. As I've already said, Mr. Speaker, our gun laws will change. Cabinet met yesterday and made in-principle decisions 72 hours after the attack. Before we meet again next Monday, these decisions will be announced.
He's been nicknamed the Trump of the tropics. Now Jair Bolsonaro is visiting the real Donald Trump. They're expected to discuss US investments in Brazil and efforts to resolve the crisis in Venezuela. Brazil's new right-wing leader has shifted his country to a more pro-American stance. Let's take a listen to what he said earlier.
Today, you have a Brazilian president who is a friend of the United States, who admires this beautiful country, and who wants to deepen not only our friendship ties, but also our business ties.
The Syrian government has threatened to retake territory controlled by Kurdish forces and their allies if they don't return the land to state authority. Kurdish forces currently hold large swathes of Syria, land that's now coveted by Damascus. Claire Rush has more.
As US-backed Kurdish forces close in on the last remaining territory held by the so-called Islamic State in Syria, a sliver of land in the eastern village of Baghouz, the Syrian government is now looking to regain its territory. But Damascus's objective may be complicated by the fact that Kurdish forces and their allies now hold nearly 1/4 of the country, including the major cities of Raqqa and Manbij, land that Damascus threatened to take back from the Kurds by force on Monday.
For the Syrian state, there are two options: national reconciliation or the liberation of the areas that they control through force.
The statement from Damascus added to the growing pressure now facing the Kurds, whose forces have been backed by the US-led coalition. Turkey, a coalition member, considers the Kurdish militias to be terrorist groups and has threatened to launch operations against them. And the US, one of the Kurds' largest military backers, has confirmed its plans to withdraw from the country.
We're working closely with the Turks, their strategic partner. More importantly, we're on plan for our drawdown in Syria.
Washington has said it plans to leave a residual force of some 200 troops, down from some 2,000 currently, a move opposed by the Kurds, who say it will expose their forces to danger and increase instability in the region.
Pope Francis met with France's top-ranking Catholic official this Monday, who's expected to hand in his resignation shortly. Cardinal Philippe Barbarin has been caught up in the global paedophilia scandal that's rocked the Catholic Church. He's recently been handed a 6-month suspended jail sentence for failing to report abuse by a priest under his authority. 4 days after a deadly cyclone struck Mozambique, the scale of the disaster is beginning to become clear. President Filipe Nyusi says that he fears more than 1,000 people could have lost their lives. The cyclone made landfall in Mozambique and neighbouring Zimbabwe on Thursday. Nicolas Jamin has the latest.
This man had to climb a tree to save his life. Some residents were rescued, but many others were not as lucky. Beira is one of Mozambique's biggest towns. It has 500,000 inhabitants. President Philippe Nyusi flew above the devastated area. He said he feared the death toll could exceed 1,000.
We've put rescue teams in place, and we have asked our partners for more help. We have rescue equipment, volunteers and doctors arriving now in Maputo. I've been asked, why are foreigners coming here? It's because they know how to deal with these situations, and they're not charging us for their support.
According to the government, more than 100,000 people will now need food aid. Some Beira residents witnessed horrifying scenes.
Flying sheets of metal decapitated people. Others are in hospital. It's really bad. No one is rescuing us here.
I was sleeping at home and suddenly the roof flew away. I couldn't find the keys to go out. I called for help. We were screaming, but no one came.
The cyclone and torrential rains also struck neighboring Zimbabwe, where dozens of people have been killed. The government said the country had suffered the worst infrastructural damage in its history.
And finally, less than 20% of homes in Sierra Leone have reliable access to electricity. Energy shortages not only make people's day-to-day lives more difficult, they also have disastrous effects on the economy. In a bid to make up for the shortfall, the government struck a deal with a Turkish company who literally ships in a fix for Freetown's electricity problems. Frank Hersey has a story.
A floating lifeline with the power to transform a city's economy. The second power ship from Turkish company Car Power Ship anchored off Sierra Leone on the 4th of March. The floating power plant's extra superpower is its speed. Once docked, it needs less than a month to start generating electricity.
We are supplying 85% of the electricity demand of Sierra Leone. The power ship can generate electricity either via using fuel oil or natural gas. With the substation on the deck, we connect to the national grid and generate electricity and dispatch electricity to the national grid.
Sierra Leone needed a rapid solution for a chronic issue. Daily power cuts were having a disastrous effect on the economy.
With the agreement that we have with Car Power, the government is saving about $18 million for the 2 years. We chose Car Power because it provided an immediate solution, which is what we wanted. Emergency power, so to speak, because developing a project proposal, developing a conventional proposal for the generation of electricity takes a long time. And when you have a Car Power, which has its own solution in a ship, it's just a matter of really bringing the ship more in it and doing the necessary connections.
A more stable electricity supply from the first ship is already transforming life in the capital. The Aberdeen Women's Centre can now run all its equipment at once.
We're doing maternity here. It was getting very difficult about the light system. We was using generator for 24 hours. Even in the theater, there's some machine we cannot use it when we are using generator. But now we are getting the electricity from the Car Power ship. We are using all our appearances, all of them.
Power ships may be a quick fix for the capital, but Sierra Leone will have to learn from past mistakes to reliably power the remaining 85% of the nation.
If you'd like to find out more details about the stories in this bulletin, including the Yellow Vest protests, check out our website. The address is france24.com/en. That's all from me for now. Do stay with us here on France 24 for more world news and headlines.